But being the fact that it is 8 o'clock, and it's time for our foundation, and the president of our Southwest District Foundation is Craig Horse Pfeiffer, and I know he's on here somewhere. So it's time for us to share the screen with Horse Pfeiffer, Jim Sowers, and Candi Druin. So you guys have 55 minutes to play with. So do your thing, would you? And unmute yourself so we can hear you.
Thank you, Alma. Before we start and go over, we need to get out some important information before we talk about specifics on the foundation. First off, if the board members saw that our secretary sent out minutes and Jim sent out a financial report, please go over it and get a hold of Patty, our secretary, if there's any changes or anything, and let Jim and I know also about the financial report. Before we get into discussing things on the foundation, there is something very, very important that we need to take care of. And first off, this is not a board meeting. I'm going to be holding one near the end of April or beginning of May to go over everything. But before we can do a Zoom meeting, first off, we need to have, because of the things with the pandemic, we have to have a current board list of all members that were voted in either by division, the executive board, and members at large. Jim will explain why when I turn it over. So we need a current list, and the three people that I want that list to go to is myself, Jim, and Patty, our secretary. I also want a second list to email when we do our board meetings. For instance, because of communication and sometimes lack of, like Tony can attest to, and Alma, I've sat in on some of their lieutenant governor meetings. So if you're a lieutenant governor and you want to sit in on the foundation meeting, please let me know. We're gonna need, when you send to Jim, Patty, and myself, we need your name, your phone number. If you're a division representative, we need to know what division, what club, and your email so we can get a hold of you. And I need the same thing, or I need the name, email, and if you do have a position like a lieutenant governor, and here, because we're on Zoom, we're not at a convention in person where anybody can come in and sit on the meeting, I need this information. I know Marge Crothers likes to sit in, being a past president. I definitely want Karen Church and James Phelps there, but we also invite their respective governors from Key Club and CKI. And if for some reason they can't make it, then Karen or James can let us know what's going on with them, what they're doing, what they need help with. But, and as I said, Tony knows and Alma knows, we need to have more communication with everybody. And so we definitely need these lists. I need the two of them. So when I do a Zoom meeting, I can make sure that you are put on the list so you can sit in on our board meetings and find out what's going on. So especially the lieutenant governors can take this information back to their respective clubs. And this is very important. So right now, I want to turn it over to Jim so he can explain more why we have to have this current board roster. Jim?
Thank you, Horst. We went through we've gone through several people in the foundation over the previous years, one of whom was Bert Snipes. Many of you know Bert. Bert has been the secretary for the foundation since just after Noah used to do it. And Bert resigned recently because of his health and for a variety of reasons. And so we elected a new secretary into the position, Patty Stone in Alamogordo. Patty's still learning what all needs to be done and how to do it. And one of the things that I have discovered this year is that one of the things Bert used to do very well was he'd go hound each of the divisions in Southwest District to make sure that they elected not only a director for the foundation, but also a lieutenant governor in their division. And usually he would start with the lieutenant governor to ask who that might be. We have a couple of open seats on the board for the Southwest District Foundation, and we may have some we don't even know about because we haven't done the contact the way Bert used to do it. So from that standpoint, if you're aware of somebody in your division that would either like to sit on the Southwest District Foundation board, it's a 2-year term. 2-year? Yeah, I think it's a 2-year term.
Yeah, 2 years.
It may be 3. I see I'm being corrected by 3 fingers being held up in front of me. I think it is a 3-year as I think about it. But anyway, we really need a full board. And we don't even know right at this stage what we don't know. And that's a really awkward, uncomfortable kind of a feeling. We know we have some vacancies we would like to fill. If you aren't on the Southwest District Foundation board and would like to be, there's no reason a lieutenant governor can't hold that same kind of a seat. There is an executive committee that's composed of the past president, the current president, the future president, and the future president, the secretary, and the treasurer. That's 7 people. There's also a board of about 16 or so, however many divisions there are. Ken, are you still listening? How many divisions are there in Southwest District? He may not be listening. About 16.
18.
18? And we also have some at-large.
16.
Okay. We also have 3 at-large seats that usually are a little easier to fill because they're people usually who actually want to be on there instead of getting drafted into it or something. So anyway, we need to get that information updated. And it's not only important for being able to invite you or send you the information about our board meetings, but it's also important because the IRS, the state of New Mexico, probably the state of Arizona, and other people all seem to want to know when you have a 501c3 or any other thing, who your board is. They want to know names, addresses, contact information, etc. for that board. And it goes on our annual tax filing for the Southwest District Foundation. And so we just need to get the list updated. It was one of the primary things that we wanted to do at this meeting today. As Horst also mentioned, we're not running this meeting today as a board meeting. Many of you are board members, most of you are not. And so what we need to do here is to try to answer questions that you may have. And so let me start off by just talking a little bit about the Southwest District Foundation. What is it? The Southwest District Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that was granted that status in 1974. And the IRS went on to grant us the capability of having subordinate organizations underneath us. And so that allows us the capability to easily create club foundations that are 501c3s by just following the simple path that we've put out to help you do that. In fact, that continues to happen all the time. The most recent one of those has just recently completed. So if your Kiwanis Club has a need or doesn't have a foundation yet and would like to have one, we've got a roadmap on how to do that. We have ways to make that a little simpler than going to the IRS and asking sweetly. So that's one of the services that we provide. Additionally, we own a little piece of property on the Arizona-New Mexico border called Kamp Kiwanis. Most of the faces that I see on this screen have been there at least once. Some of you probably haven't. So we would invite you to come to Kamp Kiwanis. There are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are at least 5 officers that I see that are on here, and probably 5 or 6 directors also, probably more. It's hard to see 3 screens of people when you can only see one at a time. But at any rate, we have a camp that's a 160-acre piece of mountainous wooded property in far west New Mexico, just a few miles from Arizona, that we have a lodge, a chapel, dormitories, and other buildings as part of it. And it's set up in a handicap fashion so that anybody can come there. And it's set up to support kids. And that's what our charter says with the IRS, that we are here to help kids by operating a camp. And so if you haven't been there, it's a part of what we do. Everybody that's watching this, that's a member of the Southwest District and pays dues to a club, everybody is a member of the Southwest District Kiwanis Foundation. There are no dues to participate. We don't charge anything for that. And we have some spectacular donors scattered all over the Southwest who help support the foundation on an annual basis. Thank you to the Los Alamos Club. We recently received a very nice donation from you guys. I see several of you here. Thank you very much for that. We have other donors that contribute quite a bit of money. We earn some money off of the cell phone tower every year. It goes up a little bit every year in what we earn because they hang more equipment on it. We rent the camp. Of course, right now, this time of the year, it's not very busy. There's probably about 6 inches of snow on the ground out there today because we've had quite a bit of snow recently. But during the summer, we try to pay our way best we can by operating that camp. And operating a camp involves a great deal of maintenance and all kinds of things to make it all work properly. And I'd love to have more participation from everybody out there. If you haven't come out there, we do 2 sessions each year, one in the spring and one in the fall that we call Work Weekend. And Work Weekend is a way to provide maintenance to the camp. In the spring, we kind of wake the camp up, wash the windows, sweep out the dust, and get it ready for the summer rental season. But we have a great time doing it, and we feed everybody that's there. And in the fall, we do just the opposite. We put it back to bed and do the same kinds of things and feed everybody there too. Sure. Go ahead, Horst.
The fall one is also a fall rally for Circle K, CKI, and the, as Karen was saying, the executive board for Key Club comes up there. And I'll be honest with you, and Jim will tell you this, and Bob Morell or anybody, we love having our family up there. And with them coming up there, we get a lot more work done. We have a lot more fun up there with them coming up to help us to do the work and stuff. And as Jim said, you come up there for those weekends, everything is taken care of, your food, everything. So, and we just have a great time. Jim, you want to mention the scholarships and
Yep.
stuff across the border too?
I will. So one of the questions that people sometimes have is, well, what have you done for me? What have you done for my kids? What have you done for our people? Well, we operate a camp for one thing. Come on down. But we also throw off scholarships every year, about 4 or 5 of them, several thousands of dollars worth of scholarships that go out to kids that are leaving high school and going to college or trade school. So if you're not having your kids apply for those scholarships, there are occasions when they go begging. We have a scholarship we're willing to pay and nobody applies for it. Oh, that's sad. But we also support CKI and Key Club every single year. They ask us for money to help them go to Decon or Icon or wherever they want to go, and we always budget money for that specific purpose. And so there are many things that we do like that you may not be seeing or may not really recognize take place, that the foundation is involved in, perhaps within your town or within your Kiwanis club, or you're not taking advantage of it. So be aware there's things that we offer that you should be looking at and considering. Now, that's a real quick overview of Southwest District Kiwanis Foundation. I may have stirred up more questions than answers. There are several really high quality folks here who can answer any question I think that you may come up with about it. And if not, we'll make up something.
I'm going to have Candi talk now, but we also do grants, and we also have stuff like Joe DeBazzi has always done, Hands Across the Border. We have ways of helping clubs. Now, like Jim said, we help Circle K and Key Club for their projects, but we're talking about the executive board, like the clubs take care of their personal Key Clubs and CKI. We take care of the Southwest District people. Candi, are you on?
Yes. One of the things I'd like to bring up, some of the directors out there, if you haven't had your council meetings where your clubs can get to know who their directors are, or if your area doesn't have a director, this is a good time for you to get a director and have a representative up there, especially if your club is utilizing the umbrella of a 501c3 through the Camp Kiwanis. You should be on that board listening to what we're doing with the money. If you need help or questions from your foundation, it's a good opportunity to ask questions. We also have sustaining membership. It gets kind of forgotten a little bit, and that's how we sometimes also help support our foundation. And that's that little $50 a year minimum that you send in to help with the expenses at Camp Kiwanis or whatever we need to, and correct me if I'm wrong when I say things like that. But, you know, a lot of people forget about that. And I know I've let my own sustaining membership go lax, but, you know, you can always come back, you know, so I know things are a little tough out there financially for a lot of people, but you do help us out and we do appreciate that. We tried to have Key Leader up there, but the timing has been really off. But I do know that the experience that the Key Clubbers have had up there, I just ran across a whole bunch of pictures of when they were up there having their activities. Also, church groups can rent up there. So if you hear of a church that might want to go up there and rent the club, Camp Kiwanis, go up to Camp Kiwanis and rent rented. It's a good place for them to have a retreat, or a business company
Weddings.
might want to have a trip, weddings, because we have that chapel there that's available. They can bring their own preacher or, so there's a lot of opportunities up there, and we have resources, but we're not using them. And sometimes when you don't use them, you lose them. So I just want to encourage people to utilize the opportunities that we have. I know in my area that some of my smaller clubs in this division has benefited from asking for funding for the border projects, because we have 2 clubs that are really close to the border. Well, actually, all of our clubs are pretty close to the border. And they've done things like art programs with the grant money, and getting books, buying baby formula. It's the very thing that we like to do. And also that we partner up as a Roadrunner president. I want to say we partnered up with the foundation as well when we have our yearly silent auction. This year, we've actually boosted it up a little bit, and we did 2,500. And I don't know if Twyla's on the online, but we haven't gotten it, finalized, approved. But we have approximately 10 clubs that are going to benefit from that silent auction that we had at Decon last year. Plus, the Roadrunners, past lieutenant governors, donated a portion of their money as well to add an extra $1,000 this year. So we're really excited that we are been able to help a lot of clubs with a lot of nice programs this year. So partner up with us. That's all I want to say. And as for directors out there, if you're not telling your clubs about us, you're not doing your job. And so get out there if you're a director and make sure that your clubs know about us and what we can do for them.
Hey, Horace, I'd like to jump in and support everything you're saying. Just show you what you talked about, the sustaining members. There's my pin I just received in the mail. 14 years. Been giving $50 a year, and sometimes I gave a little more at the conventions. And everybody should be doing this. It shouldn't be begging people to do it. You should want to give $50 a year. That's $8 and something a month. Come on, please. You can help the foundation by doing $50 a year. And also talk about the auction. When I was, I think one of the years when I was the chair of the convention,
Yeah.
we were able to get over $5,000 because we got some big items for the auction. I want everyone to think about that too. Help the foundation by donating an item. And that doesn't mean a little $5 piece of junk. I mean, give a nice piece to give to the auction, and the foundation will benefit through the Roadrunner auction. It's going to be a great deal, and you're going to help the 501c3. You're going to help give more scholarships and more assistance to the K kids, the builders clubs, the Circle K, and the Key clubs, because that's where the need is. We have to help in many different ways. That's just 2 easy ways to do it. So thanks for the soapbox for you.
Yeah, and I just want to again remind everybody that the Southwest District Foundation is your foundation. It belongs to all the clubs in the Southwest District, and in order to maintain it, we need everybody's help.
Candi, hi, it's Lynn.
Hi.
Curious, I know you guys were talking about the scholarships. When are those going out, or how do people find out about those so we can get that information to our key clubs?
Well, we do have a website.
Yeah.
And Karen, I'm going to ask you to come on because you actually just recently updated it, and you can give everybody the website so I can make sure it's said properly.
Yeah, so I'll put the link in the chat. And the Key Club Lieutenant Governors included the scholarship information in their January newsletters, I think. The applications have been out for a while, and the deadline, I think, is next week, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
But hopefully they've read their lieutenant governor's newsletters and are already a step ahead of the game.
I think it's like March 4th or 5th is the deadline.
The 4th.
Now, let me also point out something there. Those scholarships that we offer, some of them are specific to Key Club. Some of them are not.
Okay.
So if you know a kid that needs a scholarship, maybe to go to trade school, they don't have to be in Key Club to qualify.
Okay.
So take a look at them. The applications for all of them are on the Southwest District Kiwanis Foundation website.
Okay.
And so just go there and you can see the applications, download them, print them out, do whatever you want.
Great. Thanks, Jim.
On your question, Lynn, on when will you know? Talking with Candi, she's on some things they've already done, picked, but as soon as we get that list for the scholarships and the clubs that she talked about, we're going to send it out to all the board members. I'm going to do a vote before our next board meeting. And
Before
then so we
convention.
get the,
Before convention.
Yes,
Yeah,
before the
but
convention.
we're gonna vote on it. And then at their next board meeting, that information will go in the minutes so we can get the information out to you as soon as possible. I will be personally making phone calls to the board members to get that stuff that and Candi and the committee did for the clubs,
The Roadrunner grants.
the grants and the scholarship. So you will be getting them before, as soon as possible, as soon as we vote on it, okay?
Okay. Great.
Instead
Thank
of
you.
waiting. You're welcome.
Thanks so much.
Now, let me also point out something just in a way of correction to something that you've already heard tonight. I have not sent anybody financial information. So if you've looked through your email and don't find anything from me, you are correct. We originally thought we would try to squeeze a board meeting into this meeting and decided, no, we're not going to do that. We will call a special board meeting sometime in the next month or so.
As I said,
We are way behind in getting that financial information looked at and approved by the board. So that will be going out before too long. We'll have a board meeting via Zoom to do that. And then we will have a real live sit down and look at each other board meeting in Tucson when we meet there to do our regular board meetings. And we'll also have our annual meeting at the convention in Tucson. That is open to everybody in Southwest District to come ask their questions, be a part of it, and so on. It's required by our bylaws. So if you have questions now about anything with Southwest District, this is a great time to ask them.
as I said,
Can I put in?
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
I just wanted to let everybody know that our work weekend for this year is going to be April the 28th, 29th, and 30th. And I also wanted to mention this, that it's a great recruiting tool. Every time I brought somebody up to that camp, they become members of the club. So it's a good entree, and people like what they see, and they join just so they can go back up there and work, and they have fun.
I'm going to give, I had one earlier question. I'll do my email. Jim will do his, and Patty do yours. So Jim and Patty, send, if you're a division representative, you're a member at large or on the board, send that list to Jim and Patty. I want that list and the governors, past and present, Marge, that includes you, like, because you've told me you've always wanted to stay in touch, and lieutenant governors or whatever, because as I said, Tony and Alma know we have to keep up this communication better between the two groups. So, and Karen and James, who is on, I haven't seen him, need you and the respective governors on that list. And I know those governors change, but need the current one because they will be invited to the Zoom meeting.
The good news, Horse, is that the governors change, but their emails don't. So it's always going to be CKI governor at swdkiwanis.org or key club governor at kiwanis.org or swdkiwanis.org.
Yeah.
Horse, can you put yours and Jim's and Patty's email in the chat comment so that everyone can see those, so they can have them to send you that information? Or Jim, could you do all three in the chat line or whatever? I could probably do it, but I have to go get my notebook. Just put your email in, Jim and Horse. Please.
Pretty please.
Who says I can?
Please.
I'll see.
What do you have your hand up?
I don't. It's Liz Duncan.
Oh.
She wants to say something.
I just have a question for Jim.
Somebody, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Jim. It's Liz Duncan from Division 12.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Governor. I have a question. So we have some people that are in our membership that are employees of companies, and they do service hours for the company.
Yep.
And then what they want to do is be able to, give that as a donation, their hours and stuff, the value of it to the club. So we had one person that did it, and we were kind of a little confused how it happened. So it went into the Southwest District Foundation, but it still has not hit our bank account. About how long would that take? Because they don't want to do it again until they know it's going to happen the right way to get back to the actual club.
Let me give you an example. I have a daughter, an adult daughter who works for a bank, and in the process of working for the bank, they provide money from the bank, not to the employee, but to their choice of charities. And my daughter worked enough charitable activities for a variety of things this past year that she earned two $500 donations, and she gave one of those to the Southwest District Kiwanis Foundation because she helped out in some things that we were doing here in Albuquerque. But she gave the other one to the Animal Humane Society. In her case, it took the bank about 2 months probably to process the thing before it showed up. And you need to be very, very careful that if they're going to do that, give them the correct EIN number to associate with so that it goes where it's supposed to go. Because I sometimes get money that I am not expecting, and it's those kinds of things, and I don't even know who to turn to.
Was there a way to contact you and give you that information? Because they said this is from AT&T, and they have all their employees, so they do that. But she's got more banked in there to give, but she wants to get back to our club for a project we're working on. So because when you put in the EIN, it goes to the Southwest Foundation. Rather into the club.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
It can, when every subordinate club foundation has its own EIN, and that's the number she should be using. And then it goes to you. It goes to your club foundation. It does not come to me.
Well, I know when she went on to, when you do the drop down menu, it just had you guys. So she thought, well, okay, so she did it, and then she talked to us afterwards. So we don't know if the money's just in your account somewhere. Is there a way?
I've seen situations where money, when you go look for Southwest District Kiwanis Foundation, you won't find one of them. You'll find about 60 of them, 60. And so when you do that, you got to be careful. You got to pick the right one, or it may go to some other club. I saw that exact situation where money went to a club down near Yuma last year, and nobody knew where it had come from. And lo and behold, it finally came up when somebody called me and said, do you know anything about where our money might be?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of did. So be very, very careful if you do that.
Okay, I'll have a look on contacting you to see if we can track it down, so if we can get it for the club. Thank you.
That also brings up another very important point. And Governor Alma, you'll be pleased to hear this, I think. The governor called me the other day and she said, look, I've been handed this thing. Other people are too busy, can't get this done. There's a girl at the Bullhead City Morning Kiwanis Club that is looking for proof that they are a 501c3. And that's common. It happens all the time. When you go to a large donor, a corporate donor in particular, and you say, we'd sure like for you to donate to our cause, and they say, okay, every time they will verify that you're a 501c3 because they intend to write that donation off against their income taxes. And how do they do that? They go look. And if they don't find you, then they need a little bit more information. And that's what Beth McDonald needed from Bullhead City Morning. And I had a phone number that I called 4 or 5 times and I never got an answer on that. And suddenly I got an email from our secretary, Patty Stone, with the same request. And I was able to email Beth and get that straightened out. And what I do when those come up, and it happens 4 or 5 times every year, they want a thing called the IRS determination letter. That's a copy of a letter where the IRS told us we were a 501c3 dated 1974. Well, I send that, a copy of it, to them. And the second thing they want is a list of all the subordinate Kiwanis clubs that fall underneath the Southwest District Foundation. And so I send that also. Those 2 documents prove anything any corporation from Walmart to you name it might want. And so if you're looking for something like that and want to prove your status, you may have to jump through that kind of hoop to get corporate funding. Happens all the time.
And Jim, sometimes they also ask for the W-9. And if you have an admin account that's a C4, your foundation or service account is a C3, make sure you have 2 different W-9s. That'll make a big difference, because if they search it and found out that you sent a C4 and you're expecting you get a donation as a C3, it won't work. Make sure you have 2 separate W-9s.
See, this is why we need that current list that we got to have, so we can keep this to help the clubs out and the Southwest District Foundation. There was one more small thing that the district does that Marge used to do, and I do it. We have what is called Student of the Month. There's clubs that do their own thing, but with the foundation, we have bumper stickers, certificates, pens, and then if they do a Student of the Year, they also get a plaque. So there's a lot of stuff that the foundation does for the Southwest District. We're separate, but we work together, we help each other, and it'd be pretty hard for one to exist without the other. So it takes teamwork and communication. And some of us know that not all the word is getting down to the clubs. That's why I said, if you're a lieutenant governor and you want to listen in on our Zoom meetings, or like Jim said, anybody, when we do an in-person meeting during the convention, anybody can sit in. But on the Zoom meetings, at least the lieutenant governors and or if you're really interested, and come on and sit in. I know when Tony was governor too, I sat in. My wife is lieutenant governor, so I sat in so I could talk. And there was things Tony and I did together at the last convention that I will be doing with Alma on the upcoming convention to show that there is more unity between the foundation and the Southwest District. You want to say something, Tony?
No, well, I mean, I can only say that what Horace and Sandy and Jim are doing is fantastic, because I've been involved with mostly, membership over the past few years. That's been sort of my forte, and then learning, especially from Jim lately, about some of the ways I've been opening clubs and some of the things I need to be doing. He's been a font of knowledge, and Horace is, I mean, I can't ask for a better friend, and Candy's been there all the time. So Kiwanis is so big in the Southwest District that nobody can do it all, is what I'm saying. And it's just, we're fortunate to have you guys handling the foundation. I can't say enough about you all, but yes, we all work together, and you've got all this, we have all this knowledge at our fingertips. We have a lot of talent here in the Southwest District. So please don't think that you're less than if you don't know, because there's so much I'm learning still to this day. After being governor, I'm still learning a lot. So the foundation is much more than I ever dreamed it ever was.
Thank you, Tony. I know Alma, it's easy because we're in the same club, and she knows about the foundation because her hubby, Bob, was on the board years ago, and I took over for him as a division rep. And they know, but Tony's right. There's a lot of people that still don't know about the foundation and what we do. And that's why we started last year. My wife's a lieutenant governor, so I'm always listening on her district meetings and finding what's going on. But we need that communication, and so that's why you guys come. We want you, the foundation, you to come to our meetings, and we've been trying to go to yours. At least I have it on the Zoom meetings, so we can get the word out on what we're doing, just like with Key Clubbers and Circle K. We want them at our meetings because that's our future. And we need to know what's going on, just like down at the club level. We have invited our presidents of our clubs to come and talk to us at our meetings so we know what's going on with them, what projects they have coming up, and when they need help and support. And it's only going to work if we have better lines of communication between the two entities. And that means, as Tony says, we're so big and stuff, but everybody has to do their part. If we don't all try to help get the word out, it's not going to get out to the clubs. I've met people that don't even know about either the foundation or camp or things we do to help everybody out. And be honest, that's a little sad when everybody doesn't know what we can help them with.
Well, this is one of the things that comes about when the lieutenant governors have their division council meetings. That's the reason that I encourage each one of my lieutenant governors to have a council meeting, because that's the time that it can get all of the clubs together in their division when this is the type of thing that they talk about, and they make sure that they get a representative and a director on the foundation. And I think that's kind of why we're in this little this lapse is because we had to live through our wonderful pandemic. And I think we just haven't gotten the ball rolling again. But I think once the division council meetings start happening in person, and that lieutenant governor starts imparting that information in person, I think you're going to see a big difference. And also, I have a lieutenant governor's roundtable the third Tuesday of every month, and certainly we can have you come in and talk about the foundation. I mean, that's always available. So just beware of that.
The
Bob?
horse.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Bob.
have. So this is Bob, and I got a couple of things to ask you about. Well, one, in terms of representatives, it seemed like maybe you might consider. Sometimes things we need to go forward, and sometimes it might be better to go backwards a step or two. But as Alma said, it's that council meeting where the clubs get together and they elect a new lieutenant governor for their division. Well, that used to be the same meeting when we would elect the representative to the foundation board. It was at that same meeting. So there was a time limit. In other words, by middle week of May, you had to have one. And then the secretary could turn it in, and now you know who it is. And if it's 1 year term or 2 year terms or 3 year terms, whatever it might be, then the foundation needs to help the divisions understand when that office is going to become, needs to be voted again. So anyway, that's just one thing. In other words, it shouldn't be done just any time during the year. It probably should be done during our time of elections, which is right now. But the second thing, Horace, I'd like to get a report on what's happening with the status of key leader.
Right now, it is on hold. We don't have anything set up for it. Nobody, we need somebody first off, if we're going to do it, to step up and be totally in charge of it, to run it. And it's not just for high schoolers in Key Club. It can be for anybody. But the main thing is we need somebody, if we're going to do it, we need somebody to step up and volunteer to chair it and run it. And then the foundation is the one that has to put the money up in the beginning to get somebody from Kiwanis International to come in and do it. And it's been tough. The pandemic, we've had some good ones, but they've been, to say the least, shy on numbers of participants and stuff. And I haven't heard anything right now. Jim, have you heard any talk on somebody wanting to do it?
Of course, I have not. As you know, I kind of took the lead on that for quite a few years. And for a variety of reasons, things changed on us. COVID just about killed us in the process. We paid for a key leader last year or the year before. That didn't happen, but we still incurred the cost of it. Thank you, Karen, for volunteering to help with that. But it cost us $6,000 to have a key leader. And we pay that to Kiwanis International, and that pays for the leader and so on. But there's a whole lot more that goes into it than that. And it takes a great deal of organizing up front and a lot of recruitment and figuring out ways to provide transportation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I will tell you, quite frankly, I don't have it in me anymore to start over yet again. I'm 75 years old. I have issues with my own health. I would like to retire as treasurer of the foundation. So I'm going to make this plea right here at this moment. It seems like a good spot. If any one of you who are all members of the Southwest District Foundation, whether you're on the board or not, If you have some accounting knowledge, doesn't have to be a lot. If you're good at money management, if you want to become the next treasurer, I've been doing it since 2015, and I'm ready to retire from that also. And so I would beg some of you to run against me at convention, and I will nominate you. So I just, key leader, I've loved it. It's one of the best things I think we've ever done. But we've got to have someone that has the time and the ability to go wrestle the thing together, and I'm the wrong candidate.
But then also, like Jim said, we need the person in charge, but then it falls down on our clubs to go to the schools or the key clubbers, but it doesn't have to be somebody in key club, but we need the support of the clubs to go out and push it so that we can get the participation. It can't all happen at the top level because it's anybody in the whole Southwest District. So we need the support from the clubs all the way up if it's going to work to get the students there. If we don't, then it's not going to fly. Does that answer your question, Bob?
Yeah, I can see why it's a real hard thing to get it going. When Key Leader first started, it was sort of a separate program. It was actually, it was funded by the Kiwanis, the Children's Fund, Kiwanis International Foundation Children's Fund, and so it's morphed over the years, and now it's housed actually in the Key Club department. And only thing I can think of is if Key Club thought it was a valid program for leadership training, and they were to find a way to raise the money for the facilitators, I would hope that the camp would make the camp available at no charge to Key Club to run a Key leadership program there at the camp. So I just put that out. I don't know if that's possible at all.
So Bob, I can answer that for you.
All right.
Two things. The first is that Key Leader is a program of Kiwanis youth programs, not Key Club. So it's the same umbrella parent as Key Club is, but not a Key Club activity.
Okay.
And last year we tried to do exactly what you just suggested. The foundation was willing to pay for it, make the facilities available for us, and myself and some other members of the Key Club admin team and some other volunteers worked to put it together. And the timing was wrong. The words didn't get out to the clubs to get members to go. So it just didn't work. And I think what we decided was that Key Leader, and I think Weekend of a Lifetime before that, were historically held in February. But Key Club cannot dedicate resources to another leadership training conference in February when district convention is right around the corner in March or early April. It's just kind of too much on our plates and dividing resources. So we had tried to do it in the fall, which would be a great time for leadership training, but it was too early for the Key Clubs to be kind of organized in what they were doing. So we tried, I guess maybe is the answer.
Yeah.
The reality is that Southwest District Key Club's admin team has their hands more than full with Southwest District Key Club. And that Key Leader is a fantastic program. Absolutely love it. The number one way that it will strive and succeed is if somebody takes it on outside of Key Club. and does it as a program that's dedicated for anybody. Key Clubbers can come and Key Club will absolutely promote it. But if it's in February, that's pulling Key Clubbers away from what we want their priority to be, which is district convention. And I'm sorry if that sounds selfish, but that's where we do our leadership training. That's where we elect our officers. That's where we want our kids.
Makes sense. Totally
Right.
makes sense. Thank you.
But the thing is, when we scheduled it for last time, it was right after school started. And because of, as Karen showed on her graph, we didn't have the kids coming back into the clubs, and we didn't have clubs, and we lost them. And so it was hard to get the word out at the beginning, to get people to sign up for it. And also, Bob, yeah, I realize that it's supposed to be done and as Alma says, during when the division picks a lieutenant governor, but because of the pandemic, we've had problems with trying to get that up and started. Hopefully, we can get back to where we used to be so we can do that again. But because of COVID, that's why we need a current. We don't have the up-to-date current because we haven't had these meetings, but we need it. So I'm going to put a plea out for for Jim especially, so he can take care of that situation. We need to get out hopefully by the end of next weekend, if we could have the members notify Jim, Patty, and myself, and then anybody else that wants to participate in our Zoom board meeting to send me the list, please. This is very important for us. I'm looking at the time. It's almost 9 o'clock. Does anybody else have anything they would like to put in 2 or 4 cents before we cut off? Because it's almost 9 o'clock, Alma.
Yes, it's time. It's about time for fun and games. So
I have a hand up. Go ahead, Nelda Townsend.
Just really quick in 2 to 3 sentences, like you said. There was an option that was presented years ago at a Kiwanis International Convention regarding Key Leader. It was not meant as a full weekend Key Leader program, but it included the concepts of the leadership training and modules that were included, but only at a local level, so that they could be conducted by divisions instead of by a district. Again, the same components as Key Leader for a whole weekend, but at a local division level. And I'd be happy to bring that information for our next foundation board meeting and provide those details if you'd like, just considering an option, because we're talking about our calendar being busy. Who's going to run it? And by no means am I volunteering to run. I am just providing the information. And I'd be happy to continue supporting that program like I was going to do when Karen was going to lead that. But it was an option that I was really surprised to hear about as far as Key Leader is concerned. That's it. And I'll bring the information to the foundation board meeting.
thank you, Nilda. Well, I thank you so much, Horst and Jim and Candi for your expertise and your knowledge and sharing all the information that you did. You did a good job. You didn't think you could do it in that shorter time, but you did. You were successful. So thank you very much. Thank you to everybody that attended tonight. And now